I knew based on previous behaviors, if I put certain parameters and boundaries in place, that they weren't going to come back to work anyways. And so I kind of let them see themselves out.
Hey, what's up, agency owners? Jason Swenk here with another episode of the Smart Agency Masterclass podcast, a podcast for the agency owner that wants to hear from other amazing agency owners. And on today's show, an amazing woman who has really grown a fast-growing agency. And we're not going to break her agency. We're going to break it down how she did it, so you can take little cues from it. I don't know why I can't talk today, but let's go ahead and jump into the episode and see. You guys can tell it's not scripted. All right, welcome to the show. I made it through the intro. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, most definitely. So thank you for having me. My name is Danielle Reid, and I am the owner and chief strategist of DR and Associates. We're a creative agency based out of Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee.
Awesome. And why did you create this agency? Tell us a little bit about the story of why you wanted to get into this life.
Yeah, so most definitely. Worked for Big Six as a senior manager for a long time and got kind of bored. I was that person where they would pull me onto projects where they needed to be saved, in which I enjoyed that because that meant that I was actually good at something. However, I wanted a change of pace. And so from there, left the Big Six, went to work for the Navy as a marketing and advertising advisor, which is really cool. Found out they didn't know anything about marketing. They just had their agency doing everything and they trusted what they said. And it got me to really thinking while I was there about, if they really don't know what they're doing, the client really doesn't know, and I know what I'm doing, one day I can actually own my own agency. And so, I kind of pushed to the back of my thoughts and I was like, okay, got kind of tired of working for the Navy for a while and said, let me try my hand in corporate. At that time, my kind of family dynamic had changed. I just had a new baby, got tired of the flying, traveling, all those things. But corporate was really slow. And for a person like me, I like to stay busy. I'm a type A personality, so I get kind of cabin fever when I don't have anything to do. And so many business owners and entrepreneurs have been reaching out to me like, hey, I need help with my business. I need help with this. So I'd already been doing things on the side. But October the 1st, 2019, I walked out of my job and never looked back. And, now I look at it like I have this growing agency. And I think I really didn't realize until a few weeks ago how much, we've gone from that zero to hitting over, 7 figures. And it's really amazing how we've done it in such a short span of time.
We're kindred spirits because you started on October 1st. I sold my first agency on October 1st. So October 1st is very important to me. Looking back, I know it's always important. I don't remember the date, though, specifically when I started the agency. Mm-hmm. I just remember the year, and I remember the first client, and I actually remember where I was. I was in my dad's bedroom because they had a nice desk, and I was on a laptop, and I was designing a website called In Shit. And I remember my dad was selling the house at the time, and a realtor walked by and was like, holy cow, what are you doing? And I told him what I was doing. He's like, that's awesome. Can you design me a website? And that was my first paying website.
Yeah. I think we all remember that aha moment on, we got paid for doing something that we love.
Well, I'm sure you got paid way more than I did. So what was the first check you got?
So out of transparency, when I first started on my own, I was like, I didn't know anything really about pricing, right? So literally my first client was a social media marketing client. And I literally think I was making maybe $250, literally a month. And I'm like,
oh, I got you beat. Holy cow. Come on. I was at 500 for a website.
Yeah.
And that was in 99. Come on, inflation. What?
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And now, especially now. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was really let me just get out here and do it. I really didn't think about I guess, my profit margin at the time, clearly. But, of course, pricing has changed since then. But, it was one of those things where I was like, well, I just actually love what I do. And I'm trying to get these clients. So let me come up with a price. And, of course, I was looking at, kind of got distracted like with Facebook, with some of like the groups from people who truly don't know anything about marketing. They're like, oh, I'm starting up a social media agency, and I'm looking at their pricing like, oh, well, if they're charging 400, I need to be competitive. That's kind of how I took the first approach. And I quickly realized, nope, can't do this.
You mentioned I didn't really kind of focus on profit when we were starting. What did you focus on?
At the time, and still now, we focus more on impact. Even though, yes, we most definitely will get paid. It's just, for me, it was more about, let me help out these business owners who I believe in. I believe in what they're doing. I knew that they couldn't afford the $25,000 retainers or, whatever the case may have been from some of the other agencies in their area. But in my head, I was thinking, I'm helping making an impact with them. That's kind of how I took the first approach when I first started.
So you started in 2019,
yes.
right? So basically kind of, is it 4 years? Yeah, 4 years. I keep forgetting what year we're in.
I think we all do. So.
Right? I'm like, holy cow. Like in January, it'd be 10 years of doing this podcast.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I cannot believe it. So, and thanks for all the listeners listening in to keep us going. But what are some things looking back that really kind of changed the projector or I know my team always makes fun of me because they're like, trajectory? That's not a word. But we all know what it's going. It's a Swenkism word. So trajectory. What changed the direction of where you're going? It's one of these days, right?
Yeah, I would say for me, what really changed it was when I got my first 6-figure contract.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So it was really, so of course, I'm all about community impact. I'm all about helping out people. Literally, I did some volunteer work for an organization out of New York and I still do work for them, on a volunteer basis to this day. But literally they said, hey, we have a, nonprofit client who just wants to have a quick chat with someone about social media and outreach to minority and diverse audiences. And I'm like, okay, cool. Literally that 45-minute call just to kind of walk, and I didn't know who it was. Keep that in mind. I'm just literally just talking them through strategy, through some things they need to look at. And next thing I know, like a month later, they reached out to me on LinkedIn and they were like, hey, we just want to say thank you, first of all, for even volunteering. And they said, we would like to hire your agency to do this work for us because we don't have the resources internally. And I was like, okay. And the first thing I'm like, oh, ask for a budget. And so I said, well, what's your budget? And then they told me, and I was like, oh, okay.
What was the budget?
Really
what was the number?
I think their budget was 180,000. So we didn't use all of it, but I was still like.
And so what would you, or this is a good lesson to everyone, because I have this budget buster of how to get the budget 99% of the time, all the time. There's always that 1%. So if you didn't ask for the budget, what would you have pitched them?
Honestly, I really don't know. Because when they came to me at the time, I had been working in my business for about a year at that point. And of course, prices, I had kind of adjusted,
Like 250 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite different than 180 budget.
Quite different. And so, I looked at, because at first it was just me. Like I had a contractor who would help me out occasionally, like with websites and little things like that. But then I was like, oh, I need to hire in some people to help me because this is a really large lift. And so literally I started kind of doing the math, and I would like in my head, it hit 6 figures, but it wasn't near 180. It was like 120, for what they needed.
Okay.
So I mean,
it's still over 6 figures, right? Like what was the biggest engagement before that?
Honestly, maybe like $4,000 or something like that. Yeah.
So you would have pitched around 4,000. Come on. You know you would have pitched around that.
Yeah.
Right. So I know a lot of people, you go from 4,000 to 120. There's a big jump.
Yeah.
What were you thinking in your head going, did you have self-doubt?
I'm not going to say I had self-doubt. It was more on, keep in mind that this is during the pandemic, right? It was more on, I was kind of one of those people where I was like, okay, well, I didn't get any, pandemic money or anything like that. And I was like, I wouldn't have, needed it, and I kind of looked at it like this happened for a reason. Because in my head, I always knew, okay, I have this set of skills, I have this set of experience, I know what I specialize in, because everybody who's in marketing should know what they specialize in. And I was literally like, I'm really about to finally get paid what I believe my worth is, my value, because even though, like in my head, because I love what I do, of course, for the 250, clearly I did not care about getting paid, but it was more of, oh, I'm doing this for real. It was almost like that wake me up moment, because I was literally like, oh, I have a business. It really hit me. I have a real business at this point, so when I'm seeing other people saying, and I know from working with these big agencies how much they were charging, I'm literally like, I'm getting to that level. And so it felt really good, but it was almost like I couldn't believe it moment.
Yeah. After you got that and you started getting other clients, did the pricing change?
Depending on what they wanted, yes. But that was a kind of one-off project, right? And so everything looks very different for a lot of our clients, because for us, we necessarily don't have set pricing. We look at what each individual client, where they are, what they need, what their goals are, and then we kind of do their pricing from there. But that project, because it had, and of course that included like ad spend and things like that. But looking back in hindsight, it actually wasn't that expensive, looking at especially doing, paid ads around, campaign time and things, you have to compete with everybody trying to spend their ad dollars. And so in hindsight, it was a really great project. Of course, we met and exceeded the goal for the client. But that was just kind of like a one-off, and so our pricing usually doesn't get that high, especially it can. Let me clarify. Especially we're talking about that project literally was 6 figures for a month worth of work. So that was a really great project. And so, of course, if it's something where you're having a lot of heavy ad spend, things like that, yeah, it can get up there. But we usually try to show our clients the benefits of working with us and working towards a long-term plan where we don't necessarily go after the people that have $1 million a year budgets. For us, we're looking at, a lot of our clients are nonprofits. That doesn't mean they don't have any profit, but they're looking at, hey, instead of us paying, 5 employees, they look at it like, okay, if we pay 5 employees, that's 400,000. We can come and we can pay you 100,000 a year, or 150, 200, whatever it is, and we're still saving them, but we're bringing them a positive ROI.
Yeah, I always looked at it as, like when we started charging what we're worth, it was literally, I was chatting with a prospect that I thought was an asshole, and I didn't want to say no, and I said a huge price, and he said yes, and I'm like, crap. And then I realized, I was like, we're worth this. And then it was kind of like leveling us up, or actually it was kind of it was more about leveling me up, so then the agency could go up. Like I always felt like the agency has to go up, or I have to go up, then the agency goes up. I have to go up, and you keep pulling it with you, and you pulling the team, rather than kind of staying in the dirt. Like at least now I can kind of fly into the clouds and try to get above the clouds to get a better view of how I always looked at it. So what's another pivotal moment, where it kind of helped, like when you look back and you're like, man, that was kind of big, that helped me? Like, was it around people that you hired or partners or what?
I would honestly say for me, and I could go down the rabbit hole on hiring, but I think the most pivotal change for me was at the end of last year. Like I literally looked at how much I had spent on certain employees, right? So I'm going through expenses, and then I started to look at their output, and I said, oh, they basically scammed me. And so for me, it was about, because going in, I'm always transparent with people. I literally shut my business down in December of 2023, not meaning that we didn't service clients, because they still got their work done. But It was a thing of where I basically fired everybody and said, we will come back in January and figure out how we move forward, only because I grew really fast, right? And so I needed bodies. And it became a thing of where and of course, looking in hindsight, I've read plenty of books where they say, do not hire your friends, because what happens when you hire some of you, not all, but for a lot of them, what happens when you hire your friends is that you start to see things that you didn't see when you all were friends, because they were putting on this perfect image. And so it was one of those things of where I hired people who were supposed to be my friends that I knew, oh, you have a marketing degree, you have a graphic design degree, whatever. Right. And so the first 2 months they're on it, they're doing really good. Cool. It started to be where I started to question, hey, have you reached? I'm making sure everything is done, but I'm in this busy bee mode with the business because so much is going on and I can't micromanage, and if you're working for an agency, you should be a self-starter anyway, because there's always something to do. And it became a thing of where I ended up becoming a babysitter. Hey, did you make sure you followed up with this client? Did you make sure you did this? Did you make sure I'm having to do more direction than actual work?
I feel you on that one. Yes, we all go through that trap.
Yeah.
I even told someone once when we were just starting out, I actually hired my mom to do sales, and she's never done sales. It was a train wreck. And then I always had a motto, because we design websites a lot. I was like, friends don't let friends design websites.
Yeah.
So I applaud you because there's so many people that I chat with that they've grown to a certain point, and then because they are being the babysitter, everything is reliant on them. They built this huge prison, but they don't have the confidence to restart and treat it like a Monopoly game. I mean, think about running an agency, running a business is like Monopoly. It's a game. If you're in a game and you're losing, screw it, knock the shit off the board and start over. And I love that you did that.
Yeah.
So when you started back over, was the big takeaway around not hiring back friends, but allow them to be friends after?
It was more on, I knew based on previous behaviors, if I put certain parameters and boundaries in place, that they weren't going to come back to work anyways. And so I kind of let them see themselves out, which was, to me, a better thing, because I'm thinking, hey, well, you've messed up. Instead of us falling out because you're going to go and tell everybody I fired you, right? I let you see yourself out. And then if you aren't my friend anymore, you just aren't my friend. And so with some of them, we aren't friends anymore. With some of them, we're still cordial, but they can never work for me again. And I wish them the best, but it took a lot of courage in me to say, you know what? I'm not going to let you. I looked at how much money I lost paying you last year for work that I still had to do. You didn't bring me any type of ROI. Let me figure this out and let's make sure that we can come back stronger. And I think too, that that's something that honestly, a lot of business owners fail to do. And then they wonder why they're stagnant. And I tell them, well, look at your staff. It was one of those things where I saw it for everybody else, but not myself, because I was in denial that, no, my friends wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that to me, because I wouldn't do that. I've done, business for friends and family. I always enter it the same way that I would, regardless of who they are. I'm going to treat them just like any other client. I'm going to do the best of my ability. But for me, it was one of those things of where I just had to come to the realization that everybody isn't me and everybody doesn't look to actually do a good job. And if they can take advantage of something, they will.
Yeah, it really goes back to the who. The who do you want to become, or who do you need to become in order to take the agency with you? Also, who do you want on the bus, in what ship, and who do you want to go after? That's really it. At the end of the day, when you look at scaling a business, when I look back at all the mistakes, all the successes, which I had more mistakes than successes, which you should, you hope not to.
We all do.
but you do, right? You just have tons of mistakes. But once you figure that out, you get that complete clarity, then it's it gets easier. But we get into a point, on the December 15th, let's say, of, that year, you're like, crap, I don't want to hire more people. Then it's even more people I need to check with. Like, there's a lot of people listening to the show right now that are in that situation going, crap, man, if I hire more people, you're saying like, hire more people, but that means more work for me. But you have the wrong people. So if you're unhappy in the agency right now, look at going, do they have direction of where they're going? So you take the sword first, and then you're like, every year you should evaluate, or every quarter you should evaluate your team. And the good thing I always tell our mastermind members is every quarter, is there anybody that if they came to you tomorrow on your team that quit that you would be happy about? Right?
Yeah.
And you're laughing.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. You know that you'd be like, hell, I'd love that person to be gone. Like that person, hell yeah. If it is, like, you should get rid of them.
Yeah.
Immediately, because they're cancer. I was just talking to a friend of mine about a client that I worked with for many, many, many years. Took him from very small shop to over 8-figure shop. And, obviously we're always going to highlight certain accomplishments that we help people with. And he gave me a call a little while ago. It was like, you can't use my name. I'm like, oh, really? Like, where's this? Like, what? Like, we're friends. Why don't you want me to use your name? He's like, I don't want you to use my name. I'm like, why? Like, and it's just amazing how people change over time. And I told my team, I said, hey, if I ever become that asshole, just punch me in the face.
Yeah. I mean, and it's really, just like, for anyone who's listening, who's trying, because, let's just go ahead and be real, right? A lot of us, we are paying out payroll, and we necessarily aren't always seeing a positive ROI on that output from that employee. And especially for a lot of women, we get to we feel sorry for, people. Hey, oh, well, they have a child. They're providing, we kind of get into that sensitive side instead of looking at it for, we are running a business and we have to understand these type of people. Just like how you said, they can be a cancer within your organization. And if it's one person who, we're going to say you have 2 people on team that are, with 2 people along with this person, if they see what they aren't doing anything, guess what they're going to do? They're going to start to do the same. Well, we don't have to worry about it. They aren't catching up with it anyway. We can be late. We can do this. We can do that. And so it's just one of those things of where if I don't regret it because it was a lesson learned. But, looking back in hindsight, I immediately would have been like, earlier in the year, no, you got to go.
Yeah, no, it's good. And we all have to go through it. But I love you sharing these stories with us, because I think it relates to so many people if they're honest with themselves. And the cool thing too is like, as you're going through all this, you grow so much. Like if I go back like from the very beginning, or even a couple years ago, I'm like, I was a shitty leader. Like I'm so much better now. And you just constantly get better and better, and you should be thriving to get better rather than just kind of staying the same, because the market's not going to slow up. It's only going to keep growing. So if you slow up, well, I can tell you what's going to happen. You're going to get passed by. Your employees are going to get bored. They're going to leave. Your clients are going to get bored. They're going to leave. And then you have no business.
Yep.
So,
and I think for a lot of us, even like for me, I had to realize the difference in me being able to take full control of my leadership instead of working underneath someone else and being a leader. Like those are 2 totally different things. And a lot of us kind of don't realize it until we get into our agency. Because like for me, I had to look at it like, am I a horrible leader? Did I not give them instructions? Have I not done these things? Then I realized, well, even if it's someone who had worked underneath me before at a big 6 or whatever, there were still other checkpoints in place, other parameters, other things that as a business owner and as an agency owner, we don't have that. And so leadership can look a lot different when you're running your own business in comparison to when you're a leader underneath someone else's business.
oh yeah, big time. Oh, big time. You make very different decisions. So, well, this has all been amazing. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
No, just, I would always just stay true to yourself. Know, who your target customers are, and don't be discouraged. A lot of agency owners, they look at like these people who are popping up everywhere like, hey, we do social media, we do this, we do that. As long as if you know who your client is and who your target is, don't worry about, those things. Don't let it distract you on this journey and keep going forward. And also don't be afraid of collaboration. I think a lot of people miss out on collaboration opportunities that can help elevate and grow their businesses, to levels where they can become a big six agency. And a lot of people, they look at it as competition instead of collaboration.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's when I had the different mentality. When I was running the first agency, I wanted to seek and destroy anybody that had agency on the end of their name. Right. And then afterwards, I realized that I was like, especially when I started helping agencies, I was like, holy cow, I missed the boat. Like that was myself not growing because I thought I was thinking too small. And that's why really, doing this business, Agency Mastery 360, is really around creating a resource I wish I had. And I always love connecting agency owners together in the mastermind and going and then seeing what they're able to accomplish together. Whether it's sharing business back and forth, sharing a strategy that they crushed it on, and then they break it down for the rest of the agency owners, and then the agency owners can build upon that. Like, it's not competition. Like, your only competition is cat videos and procrastination. That's how I look at it. Because I'll scroll on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube Shorts. I'll be like, ooh, cat video, dog video. Like, ooh. Like the whole, and then like hours going by, and then I'm like, damn it, I wasted so much time. What's the website people can go and check you guys out?
Yeah, most definitely. So you can check out our website. It's at dr, like doctor, and associates.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it out with another agency owner. You'll help them out. And if you guys want to be a part of a really tight-knit agency owner community, I'd love to invite all of you to reach out and chat with us and see and we'll help you figure out if it's right for you. So go to agencymastery360.com, click the little scale button, which is a big orange button. You can't miss it on the top right. And we'll have a conversation. And until then, have a swank day.